All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go inside one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. And we're going to figure out the science, and really the art, of how you stay safe when just one mistake, one tiny slip up could be, well, catastrophic.
I mean, just picture this for a second. You've got these insane pressures just screaming through pipes. You've got highly flammable gases all around you. That's just a normal Tuesday. And on top of that, you're working with massive, heavy equipment in places that are, let's just say, not exactly a walk in the park.
So yeah, the big question is, how does anyone get home safely from a job like that? It's a great question, right? Because it feels totally impossible. But here's the thing, it's not magic, and it's definitely not luck. It's a very specific combination of systems, of mindset, and a culture that's just baked into everything they do. So let's dive in and break it all down. Okay, first things first. Before we can even talk about the solutions, you've got to understand the problem. And I mean, really understand it. We need to get a feel for the world of risk these folks are living in and day out. And look, this list, these aren't just bullet points on a slide. Every single one of these is a real, tangible danger. High pressures, that means one tiny crack could lead to a massive explosion. Confined spaces, that's a little room that could fill up with invisible gases that you can't see or smell. This is what they're up against every single day.
So you have all this chaos, all this risk. How do you deal with it? Well, the industry came up with a system, a systematic answer to all that risk. It's called HSE. That stands for Health, Safety, and Environment. And it's basically the framework for bringing some order to what could otherwise be a very, very chaotic situation.
And at its core, HSE is all about three things, three main pillars that are all connected. Number one, and this is the big one, is protecting people. The absolute non-negotiable priority is that every person goes home safe, period. Then there's protecting the environment, and finally, protecting the assets, the equipment. Because if the equipment fails, that's when people and the environment can get hurt. See how they all link together?
Okay, so if HSE is the big picture philosophy, how does that actually, work on the ground? What do people do? Well, that's where we get to the safety playbook. This is the nitty-gritty, the actual procedures and controls that take that philosophy and make it real. And this is so important. Safety doesn't start when the work starts. No way. It starts way, way before anyone even thinks about picking up a tool. It all begins with proactive planning. They break a job down into every single tiny step with a job safety analysis. They create super detailed plans, they get official permits to even start the work, and then, right before they begin, everyone huddles up for a toolbox talk to make 100% sure everybody is on the exact same page. Then, once the work is actually happening, you have these physical controls in place, real, tangible things, like lockout tagout. That's a fancy way of saying they put a physical lock on a machine's power switch, so there is zero chance someone can accidentally turn it on. Or constant gas testing, literally sniffing the air with machines to make sure it's safe to breathe. These are like the physical guardrails on the side of a dangerous road. But, all of that stuff is for the things you can see, the individual jobs. What about the risks you can't see? The ones hidden deep inside the pipes, inside the process itself. Because the really big disasters, they often don't happen because of one person making one mistake. They happen when the whole system has a hidden flaw. We're talking about the invisible risks. And that is where something called Process Safety Management, or PSM, comes into play. This is a whole different level. This isn't about someone slipping on a wet floor. This is about preventing a massive plant-wide catastrophe. It's all about making sure the engineering is rock solid and the maintenance is perfect, all to make sure that the really dangerous stuff stays right where it's supposed to be, safely inside the pipes. Okay, so you can have the best roles in the world. You can have the most brilliant engineering, but there's always one wild card that can throw a wrench in everything, and that's the human factor. And that brings us to what might be the single most important piece of this whole puzzle: culture. I absolutely love this definition. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. How people behave when no one is watching. That just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? A real safety culture isn't about following the rules just because your boss is standing over your shoulder. It's about what you do when you're completely alone. It's about what you do because it's the right thing to do. And this really gets to a huge difference in mindset. Think about it. Is safety just another box you have to check on a list, something you do? Or is it a fundamental value, something that's a part of who you are?
One is just reacting to rules. The other is proactively looking out for yourself and everyone around you. And that mental switch, it changes everything.
So how do you build that culture? Well, a huge part of it is this idea of workforce empowerment. And this is a pretty radical concept when you think about it. It means that every single person on that site, I don't care if it's their first day or they're the CEO, has the complete authority and the responsibility to stop any job at any time if they think it's unsafe.
And this isn't just some nice idea they talk about. It is a formal, written down policy. It's often called the stop work policy. And it's really the ultimate sign of trust. It's the company saying to every single employee, your life is more important than any schedule. Your safety is more important than any budget. Full stop.
So that's the theory. But what does it actually look like when you put it all together? Let's take a look at how a company, say like Bowsher Energy, takes all these different pieces, the systems, the procedures, the culture, and rolls them all up into one single guiding vision. What they're aiming for is something they call a zero-incident vision. And it's all built on one core belief, that every single incident is preventable. So the goal isn't just to have fewer accidents. The goal is to have zero. Zero harm to people, zero spills, zero impact on the environment. The goal is a perfect day every single day. And that's what's so powerful about this. You can have all the complex systems, all the thick manuals, all the training, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to one simple number: zero. Because it's the only number that's really acceptable, right? It's the only number that means everybody went home to their families safe and sound. All right, so let's start to pull this all together. What's the big takeaway here? After looking at all of this, what can we learn from how these high-risk industries handle safety? I think it's this. You can't just make safety someone else's job. It can't be just a department down the hall or a dusty manual sitting on a shelf. For safety to really work, especially when the stakes are this high, it has to be a core value. It has to be something that every single person believes in and lives by. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on, doesn't it? Because this idea